Many of us face immense challenges in our lives. I want to uncover secrets and principles to building a life filled with purpose, not weighed down by hardship. I'm Kirsty, your host in this journey. Each episode, I'll be talking to different people, sharing their stories and practical steps to help us to design a life that we love.
The doctor sat down and told me I have 5% chance to walk again. One day I just woke up and thought, just get over yourself, basically. Trying to see the good in it and just trying to see the funny side in being paralysed. Life doesn't stop just for you. So you just have to keep going. And then if you just keep going and if you don't focus on the negative things, the positive stuff just comes naturally.
So today on the podcast, we have Tayla Stone. So Tayla, welcome. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you for having me.
So Tayla, you were actually a paraplegic.
Yes, that's correct. T12 incomplete paraplegic.
That is quite a story. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And so you're based in Mandurah, just outside Perth in Australia?
Yes, that's correct.
So do you want to start right at the beginning? Do you want to tell us a little bit about being a paraplegic, or how did this all happen?
Yep. Well, go back to 2010. So that's baby, 7 years this year actually. It was when I was 16 years old. So I was at Mandurah Catholic College, so one of the private high schools here. I had reached up to year 10, and then school wasn't really for me, and I was actually working at a hair salon on Thursdays and Saturdays, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to start a hairdressing apprenticeship. So I was able to leave school in year 10, started doing my apprenticeship, and I was there for almost a year. So it would have been October when my apprenticeship completely stopped because I had the accident. So that was completely out of the blue. We were just at family friend's house, the parents were having drinks. Us kids decided to take the motorbikes out. It was just sort of a normal day, really. We've done it quite a few times, so it wasn't like it was anything new. And I can't tell you exactly what happened because I have no idea myself. It's just sort of word of mouth from everyone else. But I was on the two-wheeler by myself, and I was just going stupid, basically, going a bit too fast, trying to think I was cool being the whole 16-year-old riding a bike sort of thing. And I sort of spun out in the gravel because I was going so fast. And then apparently I had gone over the handlebars. My foot, or the boot, had actually got stuck in the handlebars, and then me and the bike started rolling, and the bike had landed on my back, and I ended up somehow, my feet touched the back of my head. So I was very flexible that day. And
just that day, right? You couldn't do that beforehand.
Just that day. And so from the impact of everything, I broke my back, and that's pretty much how it happened. Like I said, I've got no recollection of anything because I think it was just so full on my mind, just blocked everything out, which I am very glad that it did, because it would have been very hard to relive that image constantly. So after that, I was in Royal Perth Hospital for, I think it was about 2 weeks. After that, I moved over to Shenton Park Rehabilitation Hospital, and I think I was there probably would have been about 3 to 4 months. And I must say, being 16 years old in a hospital and a young girl, it was horrible. There was no other young teens that was there when I was there. So it was very difficult, and I wasn't in my hometown, so I was now away from my family, my friends, and that's what made it very hard. So so that's basically just a little bit about my life there.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that is quite a handful, isn't it? That is a lot to sort of process. How are you?
Yeah, it was. Being 16, having all this, chucked at you, it's just like, and obviously I had no idea what being a paraplegic was going to be about or what it was like. So it was a very, very big thing for my mind to get around and to sort of take everything in, because it was just such a sudden shock.
Yeah. So what is it like to be a paraplegic?
I'm not gonna lie, it's hard.
Yeah,
There's nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, there's obviously some days are harder than others, so it's sort of, a lot of it I find is definitely mind over matter. So what I mean by that is, it is a very emotional roller coaster. So you don't wake up and be like, oh, I'm a paraplegic, life's all good, just continue life. It definitely doesn't go like that. You go through just mentally trying to understand it, emotionally trying to understand it, and obviously physically trying to understand it. So it's a massive roller coaster, and it's sort of, it's a little bit tricky to put into words, but it's hard. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. So you just I find you just have to really just have that real positive mentality to accept what life does throw at you when you're a paraplegic, because not every day is the same. So obviously your body functions change. So in my situation, ever since I had my daughter, my body has just been all over the shop. So I've had issues with my bowels. So that means I wake up some mornings and I have pooed myself, and then my bladder doesn't work properly anymore. It can hold enough water, so I have to now use an internal catheter until I have my surgery. And then I also got diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis in my left leg, so then that's another issue I have to sort of deal with. So you really do have to just accept everything, and just not, in a way, you just can't take it personally. Obviously it's hard not to, but it's just what it is. You just have to sort of accept it and move on, basically.
Wow, I love your attitude. I think that's actually quite amazing, your mindset around that. So you mustn't have had that. Yeah. How long did it take for you to get that mindset? Like, tell us about the early days when it first happened.
It took me a while to get that mindset. I'm not going to lie. The early days, I was all over the shop. So basically I was telling myself that I was okay, that I'm fine, I've accepted it. But deep down, I actually hadn't. I was sort of lying to myself. I struggled to talk to other people because, I mean, it sounds selfish of me, but back then I thought, what's the point of talking to other people who aren't paraplegics? They don't understand what I'm going through. So what's the point of talking to them? Where really, like, it's a bit silly of me to think that, because obviously they're there, they want to help, and they're going to help as much as possible. And yes, they may not be paraplegic, but I just needed to be able to vent out what I was dealing with at the time. But I was just selfish, and I was in that whole poor me state. So it sort of just, I don't know, one day it sort of just clicked, and then just other stuff that's happened in my life, it's just made me really realize that, so what, I'm a paraplegic doesn't mean anything. Things could be a lot worse. One day I just woke up and thought, just get over yourself, basically. I just stopped really focusing on being paralysed, basically. I sort of just went on with my day as normal. So it is, again, hard to explain because I didn't really realise I was doing it until now that I look back, and it's just like, well, I actually started doing this quite a few years ago, and I just started trying to see the good in it and just trying to see the funny side in being paralysed. So it does sound a bit funny, but like, I mean, one big thing that I found with my family and friends is, especially my parents, like my parents are awesome. When I had my accident, obviously it would have been so hard for them to see their daughter almost like have her life just thrown away because of this. But I mean, really, it wasn't thrown away. But they weren't the whole poor you. It was sort of, I guess some people would call it a bit rough, but they would sort of make fun of it, but not in a mean way. There was one time in hospital that my dad, I think it was like $2 or $1, he put it on my toe. And he said, oh, if you can move that money, you can have the $2 sort of thing. So it's just things like that. Or Like when we were out and about, if people stop and talk to me, they're always like, "Oh, poor Tayla, poor Tayla." Everything's about Tayla, sort of thing. It was just a funny way of dealing with it. Then I think having that sense of humour obviously helped heaps, because, like I said, it wasn't all doom and gloom. It was just, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's very full on. So you just said a couple of sentences ago that you tried to look at the positive sides of being paralyzed and the funny
Yeah,
side of being a paraplegic.
basically.
What are the positive sides?
Well, I know this is probably I mean, not everyone will feel this way, but I mean, it's just how I feel. It's just, for one, when I go to the shops, that I get, so obviously you get the disabled parking, then so you don't have to push yourself too far. And it's not like I go out of my way to sort of park there. Like, I mean, sometimes I don't park there at all, but it's just little things like that. And then it's other things where if I have a few too many drinks, I don't have to worry about trying to walk. Like, all I have to do is
home.
yeah, it's just little things like that. I just try to see the positive side of it, basically.
Wow, that is impressive. Really finding those tiny little things. I mean, here you are.
It's just, that's what it is about. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but if you can just find those little things about it, like it's funny. Like, I mean, it was actually yesterday that my dog got stuck in the garden and she was under the electric fence. So and I was trying to get her out and she wasn't coming out. So I had to turn the fence off, and then I lifted the fence and I was calling her, and then I dragged her out. But because I got myself half into the garden, so I couldn't get myself out.
Oh.
So then I was stuck there, and it was sort of, I mean, at the time I was like, oh my gosh, I was cursing my partner so bad. But it's just like, now look at it, it's like, well, that is pretty funny. Like, I'm the only person that sort of would get stuck in that situation. So it's just things like that.
So would you say that you can live a pretty, I don't want to use the word normal because your situation's not normal, but are you able to do all the things that you want to do? What's your quality of life like at the moment?
Obviously I can't do everything that I want to do, but you can do majority of the things that you want to do. And sometimes you find like a different way to what a normal able-bodied person would do, if that makes sense. So it's obviously, there's one thing that I'm not going to be able to do, which is climb upstairs. But I mean, that's really no biggie for me, because the places I go, hardly any of them have stairs and things like that. Yeah, there is some things that there are limitations, but there's always limitations no matter what in life.
Yeah. And you said that you've now got your partner and you've got a little girl and you've
that's it. So
yeah.
And going back to when I first had the accident, that was one thing I thought I wouldn't have. I didn't think I was ever going to be in a relationship. I didn't think I was going to have kids. I was putting boundaries up for myself, basically. So I was already telling myself, because you're paralysed, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I was already telling myself I can't do those things, but really I can do those things. It's just, I think, because I woke up and I was paraplegic, it's just like, well, my life's thrown away. But it's not. That's where you've just got to be able to get out of that hurdle that obviously happens after your accident. And yeah, you just have to be able to have the strength and the acceptance to obviously accept the accident, and then things will gradually turn good. I mean, it will take a while for that to happen, but yeah.
So it's really focusing in on what you can do.
Yeah, that's just focusing on what you can do and not putting limitations on yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I always, when I was in my situation, because I was also paralyzed, but just down one side of my body, I just assumed that I would never get married. I'd never have kids. I'd never have partners.
Yeah.
I assumed that nobody else would take on that responsibility. But actually, I needed to let go of my assumptions. So I imagine there's a lot of that going on for you as well.
Well, I think it's just a natural thing. As soon as something bad happens to you, your brain automatically just goes straight to the negative side. So you just need to be able to talk to people. I mean, obviously it does help being able to talk to other people who are in your situation, but just being able to talk to anybody, and then just slowly taking steps and try not to get buried in that negative hole so much.
Definitely. So have you got quite a good support network around you? Do you know quite a few other people in your situation?
I have a couple of people on Facebook. There's a couple, like maybe 2 or 3 people I did meet in hospital, and there was another girl that I used to work with, and she was in a wheelchair too. But I don't really have anyone that's close to me that's paralysed. I mean, and I guess that's why I've started up with my blog page and everything, because it's sort of, I know when I had my accident, because I didn't really have that source to access, that's why I think I struggled a little bit. It took me a little bit longer to deal with everything because I didn't really have anyone to talk to. That besides obviously my family and friends, but didn't have anyone to properly talk to that was also disabled. So I think if, especially being so young, I think it's what there needs to be more sources like that, basically. So people, young teens, if they have an accident or something happens and they become paraplegic or quadriplegic, they can access through social media someone who's been in that situation and sort of get just a little bit of help.
So is that something that's on your focus at the moment, that you're trying to sort of build up some information for other people who might go through this?
Yeah, I wouldn't say information. It's just more
support.
Yeah, just the support. I wouldn't really even say mentor. I think it's just mainly support, and just let them know that it sucks, but it's going to be okay. And like teach them the ways that I dealt with it, and just try to see like the funny side, the positive side, and just see things in a different perspective, basically.
So what sort of things do you do in your everyday life to keep you feeling like you've got that positivity and that you've got some control in your situation?
Well, I think for me, it's obviously because I have a 1-year-old daughter, so just having her just keeps me positive, because I have someone to look after, and sort of just seeing her grow up and things like that. That's what helps me. And then,
so what do you think some of the hardest parts of your journey have been? How have you been able to overcome some of those really dark times?
well, obviously the first hardest part of my life was when the doctor sat down and told me I have 5% chance to walk again. So that threw me like left, right and center, because I didn't know how to process. I couldn't process that information. Like, it was just impossible I only had 5% chance. I hated everything at the time. And for that did take a while for me to fully accept it and overcome it. I guess you can say I did lie to myself for a little bit, and just say, oh yeah, I'm going to beat what the doctor says. I'm going to overcome it. But again, deep down, I hadn't properly accepted it. So I would go positive for so long, and then I would just hit an invisible wall, and then everything will just start coming back down again, like all the negativity or the depression and everything. And then I guess for that, it was just a couple of years later, it just clicked. I woke up one morning and it's just like, well, what was the point of being depressed about it? Yes, it sucks. I only have 5% chance of walking again, but my brain still functions fine. Like, I can still do all my everyday normal tasks. And again, I just had to think, well, things could be worse. Like, I mean, that accident could have easily taken my life, but it didn't. So it's like, what's the point of living the rest of my life so depressed and not being able to move on from it, when I've been sort of almost given a second chance at life? And it's like, well, maybe I'm going to actually just live a positive life and just be thankful that I have a second chance at it.
Do you ever question, why did this happen to me? Surely.
I did when it first happened. Obviously, it's just like, why me? But now I don't think about it at all. I think, honestly, I haven't even thought about it for a few years, because it's just like, what's the point? What's the point of trying to focus on something that's in the past? For me, there was just no point. Like, nothing's going to change it. I mean, I could sit there for the rest of my life and always focus on that, but by doing that, I'm actually not moving on with my new life. For me, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I really wish I could know the exact reason, but it's never going to happen. So what's the point of focusing on it? Life isn't going to stop just because you want to know why it happened to you. Life's still going to keep moving, and I've either got to stay in that hole or move with it, basically.
So where do you think you get this positivity from?
I think a lot of it was from my both my parents. Like I said before, that they were never that they never gave me they gave me sympathy, but they didn't always give me the sympathy. They just said, Taylor, it's happened, you just have to move on with it. And then just from then, I think that's always been in my mind, but I've only sort of really accessed it the last few years. And then since then, it's I just tried to see the positive things. It just comes naturally. I guess one thing, like I said, that life doesn't stop just for you. So you just have to keep going. And then if you just keep going and if you don't focus on the negative things, the positive stuff just comes naturally. Okay. That's how I don't have a certain way to access. I just start thinking, well, I could have easily lost my life when the accident happened. So I've got to be thankful for that. And by just being thankful for little things, positive stuff will just start coming through.
So how do you feel about your future?
I'm unsure about my future, actually. I've learnt from everything that's happened in my life, so from my accident and then also from losing my mum to cancer, I've just learnt to take every day as it comes. I mean, I've got some things that I would like to achieve, but I just know how quickly life can just change for you. And I think when I was 16, I had an exact plan of how I wanted my life to turn out. And because I had my accident, it threw a huge spanner in the works. And I think that's what made me struggle so much, is because I knew I couldn't do all the things I planned out in my life, basically. So just take it every day as it comes. I mean, obviously I would like to, just your basic normal stuff is own a home, have your own home and live in the country or something like that. But I don't have any big dreams at the moment. For me, it's just easy just taking it every day as it comes.
Are you quite reliant on other people for your everyday tasks?
No. I've just obviously been a paraplegic. You sort of learn. You have to learn. There is a few things that unfortunately I do need help with, but majority of the stuff I do, I try to do it myself because it just gives me that feel of independence.
What about things like even going grocery shoppings or getting out of the house, things where you need to get outside? Are you able to do all of that on your own?
Yeah, majority of that I can do on my own. I mean, if I need to do a big shop, obviously, I do get someone just to come with me just so they can either hold my daughter or push a trolley. But, I mean, me and my daughter, we always go out and she's only one, so she can't do anything. I mean, we go out to the parks and things like that. So, I mean, that's what I mean by, because just because you're paraplegic doesn't mean you can't do it every normal day task, because you can.
Yeah, so it's just about adapting to the situation.
Yeah, it's all adapted. It all goes back to that acceptance stage. Once you've accepted everything, you will learn to adapt. I mean, it's not going to be obviously going to adapt to everything straight up, but your body, like your mind will let you adapt to things very slowly, and then one day it just all clicks. Then it's just like you'll go doing stuff and then you won't even realise that, if I go back a couple of years ago, I struggled to do this sort of thing.
So you may not see the improvements straight away, but over time.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
Back. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's having the positive mindset. So when you're doing something, I find, for me, I'm just like, well, might not be able to do it yet, but eventually I will. So I mean, I just have that really implanted into my mind sort of thing that yes, I might not be able to do something straight up, but one day it will just all click and I'll be able to do it, basically.
So do you spend quite a bit of time working on your body? So like, do you still have therapy, having physio or any kind of outside help for your body?
I was doing really good at physio. So I was actually up walking with my crutches and
wow. That's
so I was doing really good, but I mean, a few things happened in my life once my mum was diagnosed with melanoma, so that sort of slowed things down a little bit. But I must admit, that's probably one thing I do struggle with it. Just being able to have that time to be able to do my physio. And obviously the biggest thing is being able to have that money to be able to do all my physio. And so I haven't done any walking or anything for almost a year now. Because I had my daughter, and probably one thing I'm still struggling with is just trying to walk. I hope one day I do get back into it, but yeah, it's a very long road for that. And sort of, I guess at the moment, sort of more focused and just being that positive side of me. And then once got all that sorted, then hopefully just the walking will come through slowly.
So do you have feeling in your legs at all, or is it
I do
numbness, or what's going on?
Well, when I first had the accident, there was absolutely nothing. I couldn't feel anything. But years later, I've actually had sensation come back through just the top of my knees, so I can feel the top half of my legs, and I can actually move quite a few muscles in there.
Wow, that's so great.
It is, and that's what obviously, that should be enough for me to think, well, I've got all this, like I should be able to do my walking sort of thing. But yeah, it's just sort of, for me, just not enough just yet. But then from knees down, there's nothing. So that's sort of where everything's a little bit more, like I call it in my sort of, with my humour, the dead zone, basically.
Because there's nothing there, you can't feel anything.
There's nothing there, yeah. And I don't think I will ever regain any movement or sensation down there, but I've accepted that and I'm fine with it.
You never know what might happen, like you were just saying earlier.
Yeah, I never know. But sort of, I've just sort of got myself. I do hope, but I'm not focusing completely on it. Like, I've accepted that if nothing happens, nothing happens.
Yeah. So what's in the future for you? What's coming up next for you?
I think next would be, I guess I would like to get back into work. I would really like my blog page to really pick up and be able to just help, like I said, the younger people, because I obviously know what it's like being 16 and having sort of your life completely changed. So I guess it does really fall under mentoring. But yeah, I'm pretty much open to whatever my life sort of throws at me at the moment. But I guess I would really like to help others, basically, with mainly with the acceptance of the injury or whatever it may be.
Yep, that is very, very cool. So we always finish up these interviews with a final question, and this is, what is the strongest message that you want to share with the world today?
The strongest message would be acceptance is the key. So basically, whatever life throws at you, if you don't accept it, you're not going to move forward. So that's basically, you've got to be able to, as hard as the situation is, you have to be able to accept it. And like I said before, it's not going to happen instantly, but if you just keep at it, like one day it will just click and you'll be able to accept everything.
I like it. Do you think that you need to accept everything, or is there situations where actually you need to go, no, I don't accept that because it's not in my best interest, or because it's not pushing me towards something greater?
Obviously, there is depending on what it is. So when I say acceptance is a key, for me, that was mainly focusing on the accident itself and all losing my mother. So just accepting that stuff, because unfortunately, there's no way of being able to change that at all, because it's happened.
So Tayla Stone, thank you so much for joining us. You have such an inspirational story. And I really love how your positivity is really driving your future. So thank you for joining us and sharing.
That's right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
So if you've enjoyed this episode of the Let's Talk Life Design podcast, I would love your support to help me get these messages and conversations out there. It would mean a whole lot to me if you could either share the podcast with your friends and family, or if you could link to the podcast homepage over at letstalklifedesign.com. There's also a Facebook page which gives a little bit more story and details around the interviews as they take place. And any positive reviews or subscription on iTunes would also be amazing. I really appreciate you joining me and your support as I talk to amazing guests on our show. My heart is really that I would be a channel for others to get their messages out there, to inspire our listeners to live their best life and to learn how to implement these life design principles. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll catch you soon, where we'll uncover more strategies and steps to designing that life that we love.